my February favorites. If I'm not really talking that loud, it's because I'm feeling a bit under the weather the past couple of days. I keep on like losing my voice, so I'm just gonna talk like really soft and talk about my favorites. Now, there's not too many products to talk about. I say that and then I talk for like 45 minutes, but honestly, there like really isn't that many products here. There's just like a bunch of like new favorite things that I've been trying the past month. Some of the things I haven't hauled yet, but I've been like really enjoying them, so I just want to mention them to you guys. So we're going to start out with eyeshadow palettes first. I don't have any new primers to talk about. I don't really buy new primers that often. I've just been using my NYX Marshmallow Primer. I'm almost done with this. I probably will repurchase. I probably will repurchase it when I finish it. Sorry about the coughing, but it's because I'm sick. So, okay. So anyway, so I'll put this over here. So we're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes first. So I'm going to talk about the one that I'm wearing on my eyes today, and that is the Glamonatrix Nearly Natural palette. Now, I actually haven't dipped into this palette since February because I've been trying out some other new palettes that I will mention a couple of them. But this was my favorite palette in the month of February. I was wearing it a lot, and I had just tried out all of the shades by the time I got new palettes in like the end of February. But I was able to try all of the shimmers and all of the mattes in this palette, and wow, the hype for Glamonatrix is real. Their shimmers are some of the most stunning, metallic, gorgeous, wet looking shimmers I've ever used. They're almost they're kind of on Give Me Glow level for me. Like, they're pretty much like the same, because Give Me Glow shimmers are like some of the best shimmers I've ever tried. But these are similar, but these are even more sparkly than Give Me Glows. I still love my Give Me Glow ones, but these are like super sparkly and so beautiful and metallic on the lids. And the mattes, they're not like super pigmented, but they just work so well and they blend so easily. So I am so happy that I tried this brand and tried this Nearly Natural palette, because I've been eyeing it for so long that I finally decided to order it. And it's beautiful. I love it. The only thing is that I wish that there was like maybe one more matte in here, but honestly, because it gets a little bit repetitive for me to use the same mattes. But I know the star of the show and the point of getting Glamonatrix palettes is for the shimmers. Their matte formula is good too. And that doesn't mean I can't just use one of my single shadows or like another palette's brown to deepen up something, or just to use something different, or just use a different medium tone brown. So I really have been enjoying this palette. The shimmers are beautiful and the mattes blend really easily. So what I'm wearing on my eyes today is that I'm using Simplicity in my crease. Then I darken out the crease more with the Pinky Mauve, which is untouched. And then I used Naturally on the outer corners. And then I used the shade Nearly Natural, which is the signature shade in the palette, all over my lid. And then I put Naked Eye on my inner corners. I use that one a lot on my inner corners. So it's just beautiful. So I'm just going to swatch a couple of them for you guys. They're just so gorgeous, and I think those, they're so pretty. Those two shades, Naked Eye and Nearly Natural, are my two favorite shimmers in the palette, and then this one is Unveiled Nearly Natural and Naked Eye. There's so much dust in my room, I hate it. So look at that. Look at how freaking gorgeously metallic those are. Aren't those freaking stunning? Insane, right? They just, they're so gorgeous and sparkly. I love it. And then I'll just swatch a couple of the mattes for you guys. I love this mossy kind of green color. It's almost like a greenish brown, so it kind of really works as a neutral as well. And then that's that pink shade, which is untouched. The green is called Down to Earth. So that is the Glam-Natrix Nearly Natural palette, and I've been loving it, so I can't wait to use it some more, but at least I was able to dip back into it today. So it's really pretty, and I know I'm going to use this palette a lot more for a neutral palette because it's just so beautiful. So that's the first one. And then I really wanted to mention this palette again because I did use this a lot in February, and that is the Nomad Verona Amor de Muerte palette. Morte, not muerte. Muerte Spanish. Morte, it's Italian. And this was Nomad Cosmetics' first drop this year, and I honestly think they freaking killed it with this. This has become my second favorite Nomad palette next to my Whistler Snow Lodge palette. It's so funny that I ended up loving the more colorful palettes from Nomad than my more neutral options, because I would say I like the formula more in the Hudson Valley, but I prefer the color story of the Feats de Provence, but also there's a better matte selection in the Hudson Valley. But anyway, I just love the combination of these two color stories. You can combine both sides, you can just use one side, you could just use the other side, but I definitely prefer this side over this side. But some of these shimmers on this side, especially the shade Comedy, is so insanely gorgeous on the lid. Like, this is such a gorgeous, like, orangey red shade. It is so pretty. And then this blue shifts on the lid, and it's so gorgeous. And this purple. Those are my three favorite shimmers. The purple is so gorgeous. This is the only shimmer that I've worn on my on my lid more than once. I've worn this one twice. I was able to try out all the other shades before that, but these mattes blend so easily. Very pigmented, especially this side. I love the blue and the purple and the black. The gold is gorgeous, but I actually really like this shimmer formula as well. I know some people were a bit upset that these were kind of hard pressed, but I kind of prefer that sometimes because then the shimmers don't really transfer as much. Like the Glam-Natrix shimmers transfer quite a bit because they're super sparkly, but it doesn't bother me because it doesn't like completely transfer off my lid, and I'm going to use it over and over again. It's not like Adept Cosmetics where like it would just completely like fade off on my lid or just have like sparkle all underneath my eyes. Like I have some sparkle underneath my eyes, but it's honestly not even that noticeable and kind of makes me look like a fairy princess. So I don't really mind it. But I really like the shimmers in here. I think that they perform beautifully. I don't have any problems with them. I love how they lay on the lid. They look beautiful. So, and the mattes in here are really, really nice. The only thing is that I wish there was a bit more variation on the pink side because they can tend to look similar. And I find that the only deepening shade on this side is this red shade, because when I tried to deepen up with this shade, when I did a pink look, it didn't really deepen it up too much. Or I think this like hot pink, it looked very similar to the other pink. So that would be my only complaint. But honestly, if I want to deepen up any look, I can just go in with the black. And I've been wanting to do a pink and black look with this palette, and I planned to do that like a couple of weeks ago, but then I got like 2 new palettes in that I just had to use because I really wanted to use them because obviously they were new. But this palette is gorgeous. I love it, and I think they killed it with this, and I'm super excited to see what they're coming out with next because they actually just sneak peeked a little bit of the packaging of the newest release they're going to come out with. And it's going to come out at the end of this month. So this one is Tragedy, and this one is Moors. You can't even really see like how pretty they are. It's a terrible swatch for the purple. The purple kind of shifts like gold and purple, so I love how there's some like duochromes in here. And again, the blue like shifts on the lid. You can't really see the shift when you swatch it, but it's a beautiful palette. So let me swatch at least one shade on this side because I feel like I'm swatching all of my favorite shades on the other side. And what's so funny is that I did get this palette for the pink side. So this one is the red and this one is the purple, and that one is Love and this one is Dark. And I know that Love kind of swatches a bit more opaquely, but this shade is gorgeous on the crease as well. So I love this palette. I think it's beautiful, and I really cannot wait to see what they come out with next. Nomad has got me 4 times now, because now I own 4 Nomad palettes. Once you start, you can't stop. I feel the same way about Onen's Eye. Nomad and Onen's Eye, like, just suck me in, and I can't resist getting some of their palettes, because once I tried both of the formulas for the first time, I was hooked. I think their formulas are fantastic. So, all right, now of course, we have to talk about ColourPop. So these are the 2 most recent ColourPop palettes that I've added to my collection this year. And the first one is the Flirty Talk palette. And honestly, I'll say both of these palettes are not my favorite ColourPop palettes I've ever had, but they're good. They are good palettes. Like, they perform very well. It's more so like a color story issue for me. So I picked up this Flirty Talk palette because I thought it was, again, I'm still on the hunt for my perfect pink palette, but this came pretty close. And honestly, I didn't really have, like, a pink palette from ColourPop that has, like, these colors in here. Because I've said this, like, so many times, but, like, I'm so sick of brands, like, marketing a pink palette as a pink palette, and then there's one mauve shade in there, and then the rest of the palette is neutral. It's like, I want a pink palette like this. And you know what I really love about this palette is that the lasting power on this palette was so good. I wore this red look, like the red mattes with one of the red shimmers on the lid. It lasted the entire day, and it still looked super pigmented by the time I got home. I was like, because I had it on from like 12 to like 8, and I was like, wow, it really lasted incredibly well. So there are some pros and cons about this palette though, but I do think the formula of this palette's really good. The mattes are really, really nice in this palette, and the shimmers are really pretty. There is like one dud shade in here for me though. Maybe I do need to try it without a glitter primer, but this shade, Just My Type, when I tried to use it, it didn't lay smoothly on my lid at all. I had to save it by putting one of the other shimmers over it, which is, I just put the shade Cuddle Up over it. So that's the only shade that I've used twice in this palette, because I obviously did use this palette a lot in February, and this was the palette that I wore on Valentine's Day to see my boyfriend, because I knew I was going to wear it on Valentine's Day. But it just did not lay smoothly on my lid. But there's Super Shock shade, and the other palette that I'm going to talk about works fine with a glitter primer. I didn't have any issues with it, but unfortunately this shade just didn't lay smoothly for me. I probably do need to try it without a glitter primer, because honestly, the Super Shock shadows don't really need a glitter primer because they don't really transfer, since they're more of like a cream to powder kind of formula. So I probably could just use it without a glitter primer. But all the other shimmers are beautiful. I really love the shade Cuddle Up, and Be Mine is such a gorgeous, like, sparkly shimmer. The only thing is that, like, I didn't think that they needed both of these shades in here. I kind of wish that this was a little bit more of a deeper brown, because this white shade works really well for me on the brow bone, that I feel like this shade is too light for the crease, that I mostly just use that on the brow bone as well. So I don't need 2 brow bone highlights in a palette, because then we only have like 5 mattes really to work with. Even for me, who has pale ass skin, like, I think that these shades are redundant. Like, it would have been great with just the white and like a deepening brown, but I think that the reds and the pinks are beautiful, and the shimmers are really, really pretty. So I really have been enjoying this palette, but it does get a little bit repetitive. I kind of wish there was like one more matte in here, and maybe like get rid of that other shade. So that's all I would say, but I think it's a good palette. I did enjoy using it. I had no problems blending, and again, the lasting power was really, really good on this palette. So I like it. I definitely love this palette way more than the one that came out last year. I think this one is way better. Excuse me, sorry. So this one is Be Mine, and this one is Cuddle Up. Really, really pretty shimmers. Really have been enjoying this palette. And I'll just swatch a couple of the mattes as well. This one is Your Fave, and this one is Little Red Dress. So those are the two matte shades. They're very pigmented. Almost as pigmented as Nomad. Do you see that? That's pretty good. And these ones don't really have as much powder kick up either, so I like this palette. I don't love it, but I like it. I think it's a good palette. So if you were interested in it, I would say pick it up. I think it's a good palette. Okay, next palette from ColourPop is, of course, the most recent palette that I've picked up, and I have not hauled this palette yet, but I do have a first impressions up with it, and I will have a get ready with me going up with this palette as well, and that is the Snow White palette. Now, this one is the Dreams Come True palette. Now, at first, I really wasn't sure if I was going to get this palette or not, but then the packaging really sucked me in on this palette. I think they killed it with this packaging. I think it's so beautiful. I love that they have the castle in the background, and then Snow White just looks so like awesome. And then this, I was about to say awesome, like my cousin Vinny. And then on the back is the castle as well. And then when you open it up, this is what really got me, was that the storybook print was on the top. And y'all know how much of a huge Disney fan I am. The reason why I wasn't going to pick up this palette is because I was not thrilled with the color story. I mean, I understand it's like a super literal take on what Snow White would wear. Like literally the black hair, the blue top of the dress, the red on the sleeves, and then the yellow on the skirt. I totally get that. But I feel like, again, with these like two lighter shades, they're kind of redundant because some of these shades don't even work again as a crease shade for me. Like they could have made these maybe a little bit darker browns. Like this one I really love on the brow bone. I use it all the time for that. But this one, this peachy toned, really light peach is just something that we've seen from ColourPop so many times that I feel like they could have made this like, you know, like maybe a blue matte or a red matte, because I kind of wish that they would have made like two mattes with these two shades to go with the blue and the red shimmer. Like I thought that would have made perfect sense, but then I'm like thinking about it as, you know, them not taking Snow White so literally. And I know with Disney, they design and curate the color stories, not ColourPop. ColourPop just produces it and provides the formula, but I'm pretty sure Disney has complete control over the packaging and the color story, and I think the shade names too. And then ColourPop just makes the formula. I think it's a good palette. I've been having a fun time with it, and the only reason why I picked it up is because I love Disney, and I do think that this is a way more cohesive palette than the Tinkerbell palette. I definitely like this palette more, and I like it. I've been enjoying it. I'm almost done testing out all the shades. The only shade I need to use is this blue shade, but I've used all the others, and I really have been enjoying it. I think that the mattes perform really nicely too. So there are some of the shades. I'm running out of swatch room. So that is the yellow and that is the blue. I don't think you can really see that yellow, but of course the yellow is my favorite color in the palette because y'all know I love my yellows. Yeah, see, look at that. Isn't that such a pretty yellow? And then we'll swatch, I don't know, we'll swatch two of the mattes, I guess. I mean, they're kind of just like basic ass browns, so it's not like they're anything groundbreaking. This one is In the Land, and this one is Carried Away. But yeah, it's a nice palette. I like it. I don't really have too much to say about it. Would I buy this if this wasn't Disney? No, I probably wouldn't. But since it was Disney, I got sucked in and I was like, I have to have it. And this is the Super Shock shade I was talking about. This one looks really pretty on the lid, and I use it quite a bit on the inner corners, and this white shade's a really pretty inner corner shade too. But, like, there's kind of just basic browns in here to put with every single shimmer. And it does work, but it's like, you know, kind of want a little bit more variety. But at the same time, I have, like, a bajillion ColourPop palettes. But I will tell you guys my honest opinion on whether I don't like something or not about a palette. But I think it's a pretty palette. Is it my favorite from ColourPop? No. But I think it's a really fun, cute Disney palette. So it's cute and it works. So, and it really is so cute, like, displaying it on my shelf. Okay, and then the last one, and one I've been, like, I was actually up and down about picking up anything from this collection. I'm only going to mention this one because, honestly, the other one, okay, maybe I should grab the other one. I do like the other one. I'm going to talk about it. So, the last two palettes I want to mention are the two Oden's Eye palettes that they released this Perfect World collection. That was their newest launch with 3 collaborators. And there were 3 palettes. One was with Betty Jean. The other one was with Makeup Just for Fun. And the other one was with Lauren Mae Beauty. Now, I was only going to pick up one of these palettes, or I wasn't going to pick up any of them, because I was like, I really don't need to add another palette to my collection, but at the same time, like, I was trying to convince myself not to get any of these, but then I was like, they're so pretty, though. So, originally, I was just going to pick up the Makeup Just for Fun palette, because I thought that this color story appealed to me the most, but I love Betty Jean, and I also love Makeup Just for Fun. But I really love Betty Jean. I watch almost every single one of her videos. I love her talent. She just is amazing. So I thought that this was going to be my color story. I really loved this color story. But it's a really pretty palette. I like it. But I way prefer the shimmers over the mattes in this palette. And Oden's Eye is known for their shimmers, but also their matte formula is very, very punchy. These mattes are the most powdery mattes I've ever tried from Oden's Eye. Like, I cannot get them to blend very well. And even when I do get them to blend, these 2 purple shades just don't want to work for me. But at least their shimmers are so stunning that it just saves the look, because you just put it all over the lid and it looks beautiful. It's different than Adept. Like, Adept I really could not work for me, but also, like I said, the Adept shimmers would just transfer everywhere, and I just could not get it to work for me. This is workable, but it takes a lot of work to get a good look out of this. The greens perform very nicely, but they're still extremely powdery. Like, so much kick up. Like, this has the most powder that I've ever had in a palette recently. Like, out of all the palettes I've tried this year, this has so much powder kick up in the pan. Like, the green gets everywhere, this shade gets everywhere, the purple, all of that. The shimmers don't do that, but the mattes powder everywhere. So the shimmers are gorgeous, and this was actually the only palette that sold out in the collection, because I think that she made the most cohesive color story, but unfortunately the formula is just not my favorite from Oden's Eye. So yeah, it's just a little disappointing, because I usually love Oden's Eye's formula, but at least their shimmers are still freaking killer. I think their shimmers are amazing, and these have some beautiful shimmers in here. I love the shade Magnolia and the shade Dawn. I'm going to swatch both of those for you guys. Of course, I love their multi-chromes, and this is the shade Dawn, and that's the shade Magnolia. And they're super duper sparkly and beautiful. Oh, they're so pretty. This one is Dawn, and this one is Magnolia. I mean, hello. You can't tell me those shimmers aren't gorgeous. So, but I could kind of tell with these matte shades after I swatched them originally that they were pretty powdery. But they're nice, but when you swatch them, they kind of skip a lot. So I was like, I don't know about the pigmentation of those. That one is Azalea, and that one is Clover. So it's a pretty palette. I did do a first impressions on this palette, so I did do 2 looks with it if you guys want to check that out and see looks with this. But it was a struggle getting that purple look to work in the first look that I did with this palette. But the green look that I did was super easy, and I used the shade Best Buds, and this shade Misty is also gorgeous. The greens are so good in this palette. So, but unfortunately, it's only like half of the palette that works for me and half the palette that's not that great. So, what's funny is that I really thought that was going to be my favorite out of the two, but I much prefer the Formula of the Planet Spirit palette. This one really does perform the way that I'm used to with Odin's Eye. I don't really get any powder kick up from these mattes. And look at this color story. Isn't it so much fun? I am so glad I picked this palette up. At first I was like, I don't know how many looks I'm going to be able to do with this palette. But I've done like a couple of looks where I'll combine the two palettes, and I'll use a couple of the mattes from the Florist Story palette and then use like 2 shimmers from this palette. But these mattes are so punchy and pigmented, and again, the lasting power on this palette lasted all day when I wear this palette. It is so nice on the eyes, especially in the mattes. So I really don't want to talk for too much longer, but I just want to say that this palette is stunning. So I'm just going to swatch a couple of the shades for you guys. But really punchy, beautiful, pigmented mattes, and this is definitely the formula that I'm used to with Odin's Eye. So this one is Familiar, this one is Kingdom, and this one is Habitat. So really, really pretty palette. I really have been enjoying my time with this one. I think my favorite shade in the palette is the green, and the shade Fauna is the multi-chrome, and the shade is so freaking gorgeous. I use that one on the inner corners a lot, and I also use the gold on the inner corners a lot, and the gold is the only shade I need to use on the lid. But look at that Fauna shade. Isn't that so pretty? It's like a pinky, purpley, gorgeous multi-chrome. So yeah, I really have been enjoying this one. And I find I only need to use like 2 mattes and put a shimmer on the lid and one on the inner corners. And I think that I usually need to deepen it up with like a brown or something. But I find that the 2 mattes with this palette are enough, because they have enough pigmentation and punchiness to them that I just take whatever like defining shade that I'm using and put it on the outer corners too, and it really looks great. So I also have a first impressions with this palette as well, if you wanted to see, because I also did 2 looks with that palette as well. Okay, now let's move on to some other products. We're not going to be here as long. So the only complexion product I want to mention is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. And this one is in the shade 1. And I think I mentioned this in my last favorites video, but I want to mention it again. I'm actually wearing it today. I really, really love this because it doesn't really sit too dark on your skin once you blend it in, because I did say before that this is like a little bit dark in the it's a little bit dark because this is their lightest shade, but it does absorb into the skin and it pretty much matches my skin tone. But I really love this because it's super light coverage. It doesn't feel like anything on the skin. I really love using it as my base product because I feel like that's all I need. But I also love using this for class because it's such an easy, super quick product to apply because it has that doe foot applicator. So I just smear it on my face and then just blend it out with a sponge. But I really love this. It's really beautiful, very glowy on the skin, makes my skin look so good. This is definitely worth the hype. I would totally try this out if you were thinking about it. I think it's great as like a base product, as like a primer to add more glow, as like a mixing medium. You can use it in so many different ways. I've only used it as a base product, and then after I blend out my concealer, it's enough coverage for me. And I just love that it's such a light, easy product to use for every day. And then the one concealer I want to mention is the NYX Bare With Me Concealer Serum. This is the only new concealer that I use a lot, and this is the newest concealer in my collection. And I really do love it. It's really, really nice. Again, what's so funny is that I end up loving drugstore concealers more so than I like high-end concealers. And this one is great. Really has some nice coverage to it. It has a lot more coverage than I figured it would, but it's so lightweight. And it just looks great underneath the eyes. And I love how it looks on the face as well. And it has such a light consistency that it doesn't feel heavy at all, even though it adds a lot of coverage. It's still a really nice product. I probably could just wear that on its own and it would be enough for me. Okay, now let's just talk about a couple of mascaras. I have been obsessed with this mascara. This has become my new favorite mascara, and that is the Gwen Stefani Can't Stop Staring mascara. I just love how long and curling and lengthening this mascara makes my lashes. I really do love it. I really do think it is about the wand though, with the ball on the end, because this really helps like give you a lot of lift and curl to your lashes. I have been using this at least 3 to 4 times a week whenever I'm working or I go out. It's like, ooh, I just want to use the Gwen Stefani mascara again because I know it's going to look great every single time I use it. I love it. She smashed it with this product. I think it's so good. And like I said, it's become my new favorite mascara. So I love this mascara. It's really, really good. And then the other mascara I wanted to mention is the Wet n Wild Big Papa mascara. This one I've only tried a couple of times, but it is a nice drugstore mascara. I wouldn't say it's like my all-time favorite, but I think it's nice. I think it gives you some really good length and volume. It's a little bit of a drier formula than the Gwen Stefani one. The Gwen Stefani one I find is like the perfect wetness and dryness. This one is a bit drier, but it's not dry where it doesn't like do anything. Like I also picked up a Milani mascara and I don't think it's as good as this one. It doesn't really do much at all for my lashes, but this one's really good. So I like this one. And I also picked up my Mega Length mascara recently, and this one is really good still. I don't like it as much as my lengthening mascara from ColourPop, but it's a good one. I used to repurchase this one all the time, and it's a nice mascara. Okay, so now I just have some cheek products to talk about. I have 3 blushes to talk about from ColourPop. So the first 2 are the ones from the Snow White collection. Oh, these are really, really pretty. So I have the shades I Wish I Wish and Fair Enough. And at first I wasn't sure how these were going to look on the cheeks because I don't have too many of the like more luminous finish blushes from ColourPop, but oh, they're so gorgeous on the skin, and they're so pigmented and easy to use. So this is the shade I Wish I Wish. I think I've used this one 3 times, and it looks like so pretty on the skin. It doesn't really look this shiny on the skin. It has like a really pretty like peachy shine to it on the skin. It's not like super goldeny shimmery. It's really pretty. And then the other shade is Fair Enough, which is like a more orangey color. Oh my god. We're almost done, Caitlin. We're almost done. And this is the, why am I holding it upside down? Oh my god. This is the shade Fair Enough, because the packaging has the label upside down on the back, and then when you hold it forward, that's the actual print. So this is a really pretty like punchy orangey shade, and I love this one. I've used this one a couple of times too, and it's such a pretty like orangey color. I really feel like this time they came out with more unique blush tones for this collection, because sometimes they can come out with the same like colors, like a nude, a pink, and an orange. I think that these are really unique tones for them. I don't really see anything too similar to these colors in their line, and I think they're really nice, and I'm glad that they came out with a light shade, a medium shade, and a dark shade. But like with the palette, like why are you going to come out with more cohesive cheek products, but with the palette it's like really light? So, but I'm glad that they did that at least with the blushes. But like you should accommodate everybody. Like there's a lot of Disney fans out there, and they're not all super fair. And then the last ColourPop blush is the one that I got from Marshalls, and this is the shade Chice, and this is just a super light like peachy shade that I got at Marshalls a couple of weeks ago, and I've worn this one a few times, and this has been like my go-to peachy blush. It's just such a nice everyday peachy blush, and I love it. It's super smooth. You guys know I love the ColourPop formula. It's just so easy to use, and it's just super smooth and works. So really love that blush as well. And then the last blush I want to mention is a new blush that I haven't hauled yet, but I have like such a lipstick rim on this. My mom is going to kill me. I'm just going to wipe it off. Okay. All right. That's actually not that bad. Okay, and then the last blush is from Haus Labs. A lot of people have been talking about these new Haus Lab blushes from Gaga. But this is the first shade that I picked up. I'm actually wearing the other shade that I ordered a couple days ago for the first time today. But I've worn this one like 3 times because I got this one like a week or 2 ago. This one I technically tried in March, so it's not a February favorite. But it is really pretty. And this is the shade Pomelo Peach, and it's such a beautiful, smooth, easy formula, and I think that these are going to probably sell out at some point. They are a bit pricey, but like I said before, I think that the blushes and the bronzers from her are more worth it than the highlighters. I actually really like this formula. That's why I picked up another shade, but I think that this was the only one I was going to get originally. But I think it's really, really nice. And I think it's a super smooth, buttery, soft formula. And I think that these are going to be really popular. But I really, really like it so far. So I can't wait to wear it even more than I was. I think it's going to be a really pretty spring and summer shade as well. So that is the Haus Labs blush. Okay, and then just 2 bronzers. Speaking of Haus Labs, I've been absolutely obsessed with the Haus Labs Power Sculpt Velvet Bronzer. I'm so glad that I got this instead of the highlighter, or that I didn't keep the highlighter, because I have used this so much this past month. This has been my go-to bronzer. I just love like how soft it is on the skin. Again, it has that velvety smooth formula. Like, I feel like the same formula is in the blushes as they are in the bronzers. Like that same powdery, velvety, smooth formula. They're just so nice on the skin, and I love this. This has been my absolute go-to bronzer. I think it's such an easy formula to work with, and I love it. It looks so good on the skin. And then, of course, I have to mention Alviva Beach from ColourPop. I've mentioned this like a million times on my channel at this point, but it's been my go-to bronzer this month besides the Haus Labs one. If you don't want to spend too much on Haus Labs, I would highly, highly recommend the bronzers from ColourPop. They're actually releasing these in smaller packaging soon. And it's going to be in like the smaller compacts like they have for Target. But they've also had like that smaller plastic packaging for like a long time. And that's like how their other their other cheek products were packaged. Back when they like first came out with cheek products. Now they're going back to that smaller packaging because this is kind of big. But I love this, and I kind of love this size because I use it so much, and I feel like I will hit pan on it at some point. So okay, so hey guys, so I just wanted to finish talking about my favorites. I kind of just had like a coughing fit earlier, so I couldn't really finish talking about what I wanted to talk about. I love how I said fish. So I only have like a few more products, and I did change into something warmer and took my lippy off just because like I needed to drink a lot of water. So yeah, whatever. So I have some highlighters to talk about, and the 2 that I've been absolutely loving over the past like couple of weeks are the new Rare Beauty highlighters from Selena Gomez. These were sold out for like a couple of weeks, and then they got restocked like I think like 2 weeks ago on Sephora, and I snatched these up as soon as they got restocked. So I got the shades Enlighten and Exhilarate. I'm gonna haul these obviously, but I just want to show you guys. These have been so freaking pretty. I'm actually not wearing it today. I'm actually wearing a different highlighter. I'm actually wearing one of my Jaclyn Hill highlighters, but this one is the shade Enlighten, and this is a stunning like whitish champagne color. The reason why I love these so much, I actually think that these highlighters are more worth getting than the Haus Labs highlighters, and I know that these are cheaper, but I just really love the intensity and silky smoothness of these highlighters because they are silky touch highlighters, so they're kind of more of like a baked formula, but they are just so freaking stunning and gorgeous on the skin. So that is the first shade, Enlighten. It's a stunning like white shade for my light skin, and then I had to get the gold shade as well. I knew I wanted to have at least 2 shades in this. Oh my goodness. So this one is the shade Exhilarate, and this one is also stunning. It's again the gold shade, and y'all know I love my golds. I love gold anything, but this one is also a stunning shade. I just really love these. They're just so silky smooth and reflective and gorgeous, and I feel like even someone that like doesn't love like a super glittery intense highlighter would even love a highlighter like this, because again, they're so super smooth and you really don't need that much product at all to get that built up intensity, and it just looks so freaking pretty. And I even have been adding these to like highlighters that like I want a little bit more extra punch, or I added this highlighter yesterday to my Dior highlighter that I wore out to dinner last night because it was a little bit dark on me, so I just added Enlighten to lighten it up, and it looked so pretty. So I've just been obsessed with these highlighters. I think that they're beautiful, and again, I think that these are way more worth picking up than the Haus Labs ones. Yes, that they are smaller, and obviously with the Haus Labs you're paying more for more product, but do we really need like a ridiculous amount of highlighter? And I just don't think that that formula is as good as these. Like, I don't think it really was as special. And also these are like way more intense and like the kind of highlighter that I like. Saying that these are beautiful, and they did a great job with those. And then I do have 2 from ColourPop. This one is from the Valentine's Day collection, and this one is called You're Glowing, and this packaging is definitely way easier to open. This is also a really pretty highlighter. I actually like that they finally went back to a powder formula for these, because they don't really come with powder highlighters that often anymore. They usually come out with the Super Shock highlighters with almost every collection now, or like the Soul Body highlighters, but I still love their good old classic powder highlighters. That's still my favorite formula of highlighters from ColourPop. And this is a really pretty like light gold. This one is more like yellowy than Enlighten, but these are all really, really good. I really like this highlighter. It's really beautiful on the cheeks, and this is really, really pretty. So I've worn this one a couple times, and I'm glad that I just picked up 1 cheek product, because like I said, I was going to see whether or not it was actually going to be able to open. So I only picked up 1 of the highlighters, but I really, really like this highlighter. It's really pretty, and thank God it opens. And then the last highlighter is from the It's a Small World collection, and this one's in the shade Jubilant Chorus, which I also picked up. I'm going to haul all these products in my next haul video. I'm just waiting for my boyfriend to get me a gift card, and then I'm waiting for 1 palette that one of my dear friends on YouTube gifted me. So this is the shade Jubilant Chorus, and this is kind of more of like a silvery, almost white shade. It's very similar to the Enlightened shade from Rare Beauty. But this one is also pretty on the skin. It's like a goldy-ish white. It's very stark, honestly, and it's not my absolute favorite highlighter from ColourPop, but it is pretty on the skin. I do really like it. I'm glad that I picked it up, because I did want to get at least 1 thing from the It's a Small World collection, because I love the It's a Small World ride, and I think that this was a really cute collection, especially the highlighters and the blushes. I always think they do a great job with the Disney highlighter and blushes, and this is a really pretty shade. So again, I've only worn it like twice, but it is a really pretty highlighter. I'm probably just going to keep it out and wear it tomorrow, most likely. We'll see. So that is that shade. And then we just have 3 lip products. I really have not picked up any new lip products besides these, but I do like them. So the first one that I wore a ton this past month is the ColourPop Glowing Lip in the shade Candy Kisses. This is the one from the Valentine's Day collection, and it's similar to the one that I was wearing. I was actually just wearing the You're Glowing shade. I mean, not You're Glowing. The Cockatoo shade, which is the other pink glowing lip color that I have. I just wanted to show you guys what this one looks like. This one is a bit more pinker. The Cockatoo shade is a bit more cool tone. This is more of like a warmer toned pink. Oh my god, I keep on getting it on my freaking teeth. But it's really pretty. I really love the glowing lip formula, and I thought that the packaging was so cute with like the little hearts. Oh my goodness. I'm just all over the place today. But yeah, it's like a really pretty, like simple, easy pink to throw on. And I've worn this quite a few times. I wore it a lot with the Flirty Talk palette, so that's why I've grabbed it a few times. Because this was usually my go-to lippy to wear with that palette. But again, I love the little like heart cap packaging, and I just keep this one right next to me in my drawer because I have all the glowing lip shades in here, and this was the one I was wearing, which is Cockatoo. It's a little bit cooler toned. So yeah, I love these just to throw on when I don't know like what other lip product to use, and they're just easy on the go products that I just want to throw something on my lips and be out the door. So but they add like kind of like that glossiness without being sticky, because it's not like a glossy balm, it's a glowing lip, and it just makes your lips look so pretty. The only thing is that the original shade that I have, it's melting at this point, and it's getting very hard to use because it just has melted almost completely. But I'll probably use it up soon. So, but it's just, this one has definitely melted the most. The other ones haven't really done that. Like this one from the in the Springs collection, this one is fine too, but I love these. I wear them all the time. And then the last two products, this is the Dior Lip Addict. What is this called again? Lip tint in the shade 421. And I did haul this recently. These were sold out online, and I think in mostly all the shades in my Sephora except for this one, and this was the last one in this shade. And I snatched it up, and it's really, really nice on the lips. I like it. It's very comfortable. It's also a little bit tingly, so I think it has a little bit of like a lip plumper in it. But it's not like completely uncomfortable. It's just like very cooling. But it doesn't sting, and it's not like uncomfortable. Like I can still feel it on my lips. It basically just feels like a mint, like a minty sensation. But it is nice. But I do notice that if you talk with this product, like when I'm filming a video, it does tend to like wear off a little bit on the inside. But I do think it's very comfortable, and I like that it's a more pigmented kind of tinted lip balm. And then the last product is the Give by Gwen Stefani liquid lipstick in the shade I'm Still Here, and this is the nudist shade in her line. When I hauled this, I actually wasn't able to try it, or I hadn't tried it yet. But now I've worn it a couple of times, and it is a nice lipstick. It's not my absolute favorite liquid lipstick ever, but it does stay on really well. It's just a little bit drying, and it kind of can make your lips a little bit wrinkly looking, but it does have really good lasting power, and I like that it's like a light nude. My boyfriend doesn't love this shade, but he said it like the last time I wore it, but I like it. So that's it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 to check out my Poshmark at the same handle. I'm going to go because my voice is dying. Let me know what your favorites were this month, and let me know if you guys picked up any of these products. Bye!